Hello and welcome to another half hour of business chat here on Big Centre TV. Now, my first guest this week is no stranger to making the headlines. As business editor of the Express and Star newspaper, it's what he does all the time. Simon Penfold, welcome. Now, as one of the West Midlands' leading business journalists, does this mean you get to hear about the big news stories before any of the rest of us?
That's the idea. We put an awful lot of work into trying to make sure that we do. Particularly anything that comes on our patch. We want to make sure that we're the first people to tell our readers about it. We'd rather they didn't hear it anywhere else first.
What's a typical day or a week in the life of Mr. Simon Penfold then?
No week is ever the same, but it's a combination of things. Our Mondays are usually spent finalising our Tuesday business supplement, produced every week in the paper. As the week goes on, we tend to get more stuff coming out of the city because obviously we're constantly watching for companies with local links or locally based companies who are listed on the city, on the FTSE. And we get their reports quarterly, half-yearly on how they're doing. For instance, Poundland is most recent example of a company that's just produced some results.
They've been giving you plenty of headlines recently. They're expanding like no one's business.
It's a great black country story. Started 25 years ago this year by Steve Smith, and is backed by his dad Keith, from a little office above a indoor market in Sedgley with I think it was a second-hand fax and a second-hand desk, and nobody would back the idea. Nobody thought there was any money in trying to sell everything for £1. He knew better. His background was a market trader. The family ran Hooties, which is a lot of people will probably remember that name. They made a huge success. They sold it for around 50 million quid a few years back, and they're very happy with the money they made out of it. It's gone on. A guy called Jim McCarthy runs the business now.
Well, they're expanding overseas and all sorts at the moment,
absolutely.
aren't they?
They're currently opening 10 stores in Spain called Deals, because obviously it's the Euro, and they had to come up with a different name when they started opening stores in Ireland, and that name's working for them over there. It's not just holidaymakers. Apparently, they've discovered a real Spanish market out there.
But they're still very much a black country business,
absolutely.
Aren't they? And always intend to be, don't they?
Absolutely. They remain based here. Their headquarters are on just off the Black Country route, Darlaston-Willenhall border. Big warehouse. They've got another one in Bilston. Probably 700-800 people. They were taking on more people, I think, for warehousing just earlier this year, because to support constant growth, they're opening around 60 new stores a year. They're aiming for 1,000. That's even if they don't succeed with this takeover of 99p stores, which is currently it's a bit wobbly. There's a bit of competition issues around that, but they're very, very bullish, very go ahead.
What's your broad area of circulation then with the Express and Star Business Supplement? Which areas are you interested in stories from?
Core areas are really the Black Country boroughs of Walsall, Wolverhampton, Dudley, Sandwell, West Bromwich, but Staffordshire as well. We probably go about halfway up into Staffordshire. We go over to Worcester, to Kidderminster. Keep an eye on what's happening in Bridgnorth. And we keep an eye on what's happening in Birmingham, because, of course, just because it's in Birmingham and it's off the patch doesn't mean it won't affect us. If HSBC are bringing 1,000 jobs when they move their UK headquarters to Birmingham, that's going to have an impact, because a lot of those people probably live around our neck of the woods. There will be a constant story for us. So, but that core area is our traditional area. It's why we've been here for over a century. To get with those readers, give them hopefully the news they want.
And of course, talking about stories that have got the broad regional interest, the one that I know you've been all over the last few months, I mean, just looking at it here, is the amazing Jaguar Land Rover saga. I mean, I've seen it spring up outside on the side of the I-54, and you had that exclusive story about them doubling the size of the factory again. What's the inside tale on all that then?
Well, they kind of crept out. They started sending letters out to the local people saying, inviting them to a 3 days at Penderford, at the community centre in Penderford, to look at initial plans. And of course, with a local paper, we find stuff out. People ring us up we were made sure we were there when they opened the doors, and we shot inside to have a look. And it's remarkable. It's effectively building another factory the same size as the one that's already there.
And anyone who's driven past the one that's already there on the side of the M54 can get some idea of the
absolutely huge
scale.
I think it's because it's got all those solar panels on the roof. I think it's probably one of the biggest solar panel arrays in the country, and they're going to do it all over again. This thing's going to be about 900,000 square foot. But the one thing we don't know is what they're going to build there, what they're going to make.
Being a bit secretive about that.
Just a bit. We know, obviously, they make the new four-cylinder engines. They call them Ingeniums. The existing plant, they're just rolling those out. They're going to the new Jag that's going to be appearing on forecourts in the next few weeks, and some of the other cars that are coming down the line. But they won't tell us what they're going to make there. Now, maybe there's a bit of doubt whether they've got a few options. Maybe it's simply that they're buying the stuff currently from another company and they haven't broken the news to them yet. They're going to start making it themselves. We just don't know.
The one thing, of course, that isn't in any doubt, though, is the massive vote of confidence they've shown for the region and the amount of investment they're ploughing in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's massively good news because a lot of the people already working there are local people. Anything between a third and a half of the people who currently have managed to get jobs at that plant come from WV postcode. A lot of these are young people who maybe hadn't had a proper career before. Some of our people in their 50s who thought they'd lost their job perhaps and thought that was the end of their working career. And suddenly they're working for this company. And yeah, as you say, it's a great vote of confidence because they've chosen to be here and they're still pumping money into this area.
So manufacturing is probably one of the big tick boxes people would expect a business editor to be all over. But of course, our economy is so multi-layered, isn't it? I noticed a story you wrote about the other day, having a look at what's happening at the new Harvey Nicks at the mailbox. That looks fascinating.
Absolutely, retail. It's
you're a Harvey Nicks man, are you?
No, not quite. As you can see, I like a suit, but Harvey Nicks is a bit beyond my price bracket.
But this is really high-tech stuff they're talking about.
It is. They're because of course they don't have shop assistants. They have what they call concierges, but it's all online. It's all digital. You walk in, they're showing you stuff through tablets, and it's the whole. Well, it's to some extent Argos are trying to follow the same thing. It's other end of the scale, you might suggest, but they're converting all their. They started converting some of their traditional stores with the old traditional glossy catalogue, and they're replacing those with tablets. This is very much an upscale version of that, of course. It's in the mailbox, which is a very, very top drawer location in Birmingham. But of course, we've got the whole redevelopment in the city centre, the huge store that's going to sit on top of the new railway station at New Street, and obviously Wolverhampton and the towns around here are all hoping to get a spin-off benefit from that.
Do you think, I mean, the general mood music that seems to be coming out of the area is that Black Country business is doing all right at the moment? Is that what you think?
We're always getting mixed messages these days. They're like farmers. There's always something they're worried about. Europe is a current thing that's worrying people, whether we stay in, whether we come out. But I think in terms of exports have been a little dry. They're starting to show us a few signs of recovery. Manufacturing firms, they're certainly a lot stronger than they were 3 or 4 years ago. But they have highs and lows. They were very high earlier last year, maybe 12, 18 months later, not so strong. And that may be to do with the strength of the pound against the euro. It's always a factor. But where one business is maybe a little weaker, another one's usually doing well. We're doing terrifically well in terms of our delivery companies. It's one of the hidden secrets of this area is that we have so many huge delivery businesses based here and distributing stuff across the country.
One of the things that occurred to me, so the Express and Star runs an annual business awards competition, doesn't it? And
it does.
Looking at the winners in that competition that you had from a few weeks back, the diversity was unbelievable, wasn't
Absolutely. It? Our winners are Exxon Lubricants. It's a kind of industrial lubrication But they're based here in the Black Country in Wednesbury, but they're exporting their stuff all over the world. But at the other end of the scale, you've got a tiny little 4 members of our family running a firm called Hughes Production, which just does events, and they do some really top drawer events down in London that they organise for people.
Is that one of the, I imagine that's one of the real big appeals, the fact that 1 minute you can be talking to a multi-million-pound conglomerate, next minute you've got a one-man, two-man band, all got equally good success.
Absolutely.
Stories.
One of the other competitors was HomeServe, absolutely massive company, a PLC, listed on the stock market, employing over 1,000 people just in Walsall, sorry. And yeah, they're in so many houses because they provide this kind of plumbing service and breakdown service for people. It's kind of an insurance company, but with additional repairs.
Welcome back. Now, before I introduce my final guest this week, let's take a quick look at some of the companies making the business news headlines. The Chief Executive of Inspired Thinking Group in Birmingham has been named Midlands Entrepreneur of the Year. Simon Ward, who also took home the Technology Prize at the EY Awards, was described by the judges as a serial entrepreneur who isn't afraid to take risks and who's grown his businesses by pioneering new approaches and constantly innovating. He'll now represent the Midlands at the national finals in October. The managing director of a Brierley Hill business joined Prime Minister David Cameron and Chancellor George Osborne at a fact-finding meeting ahead of the July budget. Mike Wheeler expressed his view that a reduction in corporation tax would free up funds for increased direct investment locally, as well as helping to create an environment which favours growing businesses. His company, Auto Styling Truckman, is one of the UK's leading manufacturers of hard tops for pickup trucks and has just invested over £2.7 million in new premises, creating 15 jobs. And talking of investment, a canalside pub in Birmingham, which has been closed for more than a decade, has been given a new lease of life. The Fiddle and Bone on Sheepcote Street has been bought by Earl Whiteman, who already runs the diner and boat tour company Sherborne Wharf. He's now restored the pub to its former glories with the help of a £140,000 loan from Lloyds Bank. And so to my final guest this week. Richard Morris is the founder of a company called the Fit Body Boot Camp. He holds sessions all around the region and has even launched his own organic greens drink. Richard, thank you for joining us. You've had quite a colourful career. You've been a boxer, is that right?
Yes.
What else have you done before you started out this fitness road?
My whole life has been fitness. I started boxing when I was 9 years old. Boxed up until I was about 24. And then I went into boxing coaching, did that for a couple of years, but my passion's always been fitness and training people. So I became a personal trainer back in the year 2000, and it's just literally gone from there, really.
So personal trainer 15 years ago, the words personal trainer, what did they mean then and how different is it to what do you think they mean now?
Okay, I mean, back in 2000, personal trainer was, when I first got into the industry, there wasn't really many personal trainers out there. It was like personal trainers to celebrities and to, it was the rich and famous that had personal trainers. Now a personal trainer, there's lots of personal trainers working out of a lot of gyms. So, they've got a lot more popular.
Is there still a perception, though, that personal trainers are just for the rich and famous?
I don't think so anymore. It's become a lot more popular. If you go to gyms, you may get 5 or 6 personal trainers working out of each gym. So a lot of people do have their own trainer now.
So tell us about the business you run now then. What's that? How long has that been?
Okay, so I started personal training back in 2000. It got to 2010 and I'd got a very busy business, self-employed and doing everything myself, and it was literally I just couldn't take any more clients on, and I was getting to a lot of people was asking me to train them, and I just couldn't. There wasn't enough hours in the day, so I was looking at how I could advance the business. I thought, shall I take on staff? And what I decided to do, I saw a model in America and also in Australia that was running group training, which was the boot camps. And there was nothing really over in the UK that was doing it, and I thought, well, it looks great, but obviously we're not in the hottest country over here. Is it going to happen? Is it just going to be a seasonal thing? Is it going to be great in the summer but not really take off in the winter? So in 2000, I put together the Fit Body Boot Camp, and we literally within about 2 months I tried two versions of it. I tried a pay-as-you-go where people just came and paid per session, and I also did like a 4-week program where we guaranteed people to lose at least a clothes size. And the program just literally took off, and we've got over 300 members now.
And is that all in and around the Black Country area?
It is. We've got two venues. We've got one which is in Himley, and we've also got a venue which I set up last year, which is in Bridge North.
And so, how's the business evolved then over the last couple of years? Is it most of the big growth happened more recently then, has it?
Yeah, I mean, it started to take off more or less straight away. We started with 2 sessions. It was 3 times a week. It was the one venue that we started with at Himley was a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and we did 2 sessions. We did an early morning at 6:15 in the morning to attract the people who wanted to exercise before work. And we also had one at 6:30 on an evening. We've now got 4, so we do an early morning, we do a mid-morning, we do 2 evening sessions, and then we've got the other venue over in Bridge North as well. So we're running 6 days a week and 4 sessions per day in each venue.
So I'm not a complete couch potato. I play tennis once a week in bits and pieces, but I've never quite understood this business of going to the gym or going to a session before work, first thing in the morning. But it's really popular, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there's so many people that do it, and it sets you up for the day as well. The people who
You finished me off, I think.
yeah,
Set me up.
the people who exercise in the morning, it is just a matter of getting up that little bit earlier. But the people who do it, they say that their energy levels are a lot better during the day. They feel as though during work they've got more energy and more concentration levels. So it's just becoming that part of life, getting up a little bit earlier and making time to do it.
You must look at some of the news headlines that we've had over the last few months where obesity rates are going up and there's constant worries about how fit or otherwise our young children are, and think, big opportunity for me here then. There's a big market out there.
It is. I mean, if you look at the stats, obesity is on the rise, and there's so much misconception. There's so-called health foods out there, low calorie. People don't really know what to do, but I think the kids of today, they're indoors a lot more than what they was going back 20 years ago. They're on their computer consoles, and it's getting worse. So there is a big call for health. And
you take people deliberately. You're outdoors, aren't you?
We're
all of these
outdoors,
programs are strictly outdoors.
Yeah.
All weathers, all time of
all
year.
weathers,
is it? So,
yeah.
And that, how do you find that? Does that shock some people?
To be honest, it doesn't really deter people. One of the questions that we get asked first of all when people join is what happens if it rains, what happens in the winter. When it happens, people say, actually, we prefer this than in the summer, because after 5 minutes, they're warmed up anyway, and in the summer months, it's harder to cool down, so people do actually prefer it in the colder months.
Do you think, I mean, one of the criticisms that is levelled at the population of Britain at the moment is that we're sat in front of our tablets, our computers. Do you look at sort of the way business people run now, and look at sort of ergonomics, the way people sit, or the fact people are not taking screen breaks or walking around? Is that the sort of thing you get involved in advising people?
Yeah. One of the things I say to people, and I think this is why the boot camps work well as well, is that when people go to a gym, they've been sat down. So modern lifestyle now is we get up on the morning, we sit down, we eat our breakfast, we get in our car, we sit down, we drive to work. Most people then will sit down at an office for probably 8 hours, sat at a computer desk. They get back home, they go into the car, they sit in front of the TV. So most of the time we sat down. When we sleep, we're then probably still in that same position that we've been in all day. People then go to a gym and they sit down on a machine and they're just tightening up the muscle groups even more. So we try and educate people that we're designed to move. We're designed to move forwards, backwards, left, right, bend, twist, turn, rotate. So that's what the kind of things that we do in the boot camp. It's just get people more functionally active. So it's not just about weight loss. It's not just about health. It's getting people moving the way that we're supposed to be moving and getting people active.
And you touched us a little bit earlier on your sort of concerns that some of the products that are out there that people are encouraged to buy might not be doing the sort of job that people think they're doing. And you've gone one step further, haven't you, and created your own range. And is this the whole range you've got here then?
Yes, we've got.
What have you got then? Tell me.
So it's basically 4 products. I mean, there's again a lot of things out there that claim to be healthy that aren't. They're clever marketing in disguise. There's low fat this, and but the things that are low fat are probably replaced with sugar, and there's other things in. There's a lot of artificial colourings in things. The other things as well, they try and get people to go on a quick fix diet of living on shakes or bars, and it's not healthy. So food is number one, and I always say to people, forget supplementation. First of all, you've got to eat healthy. There's no point trying to lose weight by just going on supplementation. So supplementation is like 5% of the things. So it's about eating a healthy, balanced diet, eating foods that nature intended, really. So it's things that grew in the ground, that ran in on the land, that swam in the sea. So anything really in this whole natural state is the kind of foods we should be eating. But then the thing is with nowadays is that a lot of the foods that even are healthy foods have been sprayed with pesticides. So really, I say to people, eat things that are organically grown, and you really want to begin your superfoods, and this is what these products are. So it's all of your superfoods that have been put together in a cold press mix. So like this one here, which is the organic greens, is 27 superfoods. It's all organic. It's things like carrot, spirulina, wheatgrass, barley, quinoa, all of your superfoods just put into a powder that you can take. And it's giving your body everything that needs, all the vitamins, minerals, nutrients.
Because it's amazing the amount of choice that's out there, isn't it, at the moment, as you say, and people are not really sure which way to go. So if people want to know more, they can find you at Himley, they can find you at Bridgnorth. Richard, thank you for coming in onto Big Centre TV. That's all we've got time for on Midlands Business Update this week. Don't forget, if your story's got a company to tell, we want to hear it. Email business@bigcentre.tv.